welcome to TransParents. Jenny's getting adjusted there. Quite all right. Y'all know the
Not working. It's
shenanigans.
not working. Not
It's
working.
always shenanigans here.
Oh,
What can we
oh.
say? Right? But my name is Amber. I'm your one of the co-hosts. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on TikTok at Moonchild77. And this is my lovely co-host.
Hi, Jenny. Also, she, her. I am at Trans Loving Mama on TikTok, Lemon8, and Blue Sky.
Oof, you just all over the place. No, too many socials.
I'm not active on Lemon8 and Blue Sky, to be honest. I mean, I'm there every now and then. I'll throw something up. Hey, Jeffrey. But for the most part, yeah, I'm on TikTok until it goes down.
Yeah, I hear you. I have not. It's we both have had wild weeks, it sounds like. Um,
The rough
so yeah,
ones.
so tonight we wanted to go into stuff that honestly we were going to try and do an episode about this last year. And I believe the holidays, like Sunday was, I think, Christmas Eve
Yeah.
and maybe New Year's Eve. And so it just did not work to do episodes. So we didn't wind up getting it. We weren't really thinking ahead of time really well enough for us to put an episode out. And then it was like, oh crap, now it's here and it's too late. So before, and I know that there are probably already work parties that have already gone on, community parties and functions that have gone on, but we just kind of wanted to talk about that topic as being parents of, trans kids, gender diverse kids, what it's like going into those situations and ways that you can prepare yourself. And
And have I
honestly,
got a story for you?
oh no. And to make sure that it's safe for your kid
Yeah.
to go into. So with that being said, let's start off with a story, Jenny.
Let's start off with a story. So I was sent to a corporate training thing at the beginning of this month, and it was in Texas. It was in Plano, Texas. Hi, Leslie. And
Hi, Leslie.
one of my coworkers from a different, so you know how corporate is. He is in Texas at one of our Texas factories, and he's really good friends with my brother. And then he and I have gotten to be buddies. And he always jokes with me because obviously I'm such a leftist and everybody there is such Trumpers. And so we get to this corporate training, and he tells me beforehand, hey, I want to prepare you just so you know what it's going to be like start getting ready to be like Trump train. And I was like, absolutely not on your life. But I knew he was joking. You let it slide, because what are you going to do? Like, it is what it is. I can still maintain a sense of humor, even though it's annoying. I get there. I do not know these people. I wouldn't say I have social anxiety, because I don't. I'm a very social butterfly. I never have a problem melding with any crowd, regardless. I mean, I imagine there's probably a line somewhere in the sand, but for the most part, I can get along with just about anybody. So I get there, and we go to this dinner. And it's the very first night we're there. There's like 8 of us from that region. There might have been 8 to 10 of us from that region at a table at a restaurant. And I don't know anybody. And, it's just awkward. It's a little uncomfortable. I don't know people. I know I'm very different. I know, I just am. And the guy, Joey, says, why don't we all go around the table and say like an interesting fact about ourselves? And so everybody's going around doing whatever, and I'm just waiting, and I'm like, I don't have an interesting fact about myself. Like, I'm not that interesting. And when he got to me, Joey said, hey, do you mind if I share for you? And I thought, well, he doesn't know anything that can be dangerous. Girl, this man says, what I love about Jenny is that her and her brother is a far right, Trump supporting, blah, 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 blah. And Jenny is the farthest left person I've ever known. First of all, you've said this in front of complete strangers. I've already heard them make racist comments. I've already heard them make transphobic comments. I'll tell you about that one. I've already heard stuff that makes me go, I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm going to keep quiet. I'm just going to be here. And now you've told everybody I'm the farthest left person you've ever known. Ma'am, I assure you I am not the farthest left person you've ever known. I promise I am not the farthest left. I know people that I'm like, oh my God, you're very left. So, like, that's bad enough. I already feel really uncomfortable. And he says, and she's a big advocate for the transgender community. Now, that's the truth. It's not something I hide about myself.
Right?
I mean, here I am.
Right?
But I am at this intimate setting with people I do not know. I've already heard that there is no place for that in business, Leslie. Exactly. I have
Right?
already some things. I'm already in it. Just the fact that I was put out there like that, and
Right?
everybody looks at me, and I said, I have a transgender son because I'm like, let's just get it out there.
Right?
And if immediately somebody's like, I just don't understand that non-binary stuff, and I'm like, well, you know what? That's cool. Like, not everything is going to be understood, and I don't know. That's fine. Oh, it was just so uncomfortable. And he went on to say that, Mr. Non-binary not understanding said, well, I wish more people on the left were like you. Y'all tend to make it difficult for us to get along. It was just such a yucky position to put me in with
Right?
people
And
I
you
didn't
didn't have to
know.
be you didn't have to be put there.
Right.
I mean, I
I
think that's kind of the thing. Like, why do we, other than the fact that obviously family members are going to notice there's a difference in the way this person presents themselves, right? But that's the reason why we actually have to have that conversation. Or you have the conversation, do we even go at all? Is it safe for my kid to even go? Um, and my kid was already grown, right, before he came out and made this decision. So when he did, the thing was he had a history of we don't live close to family, and so we would always travel back what I called home for the holidays, right? To our events. And so we only did it 2 or 3 times a year. And during those times, like you'd have times where the grandkids would kind of go gather in the other room and hang out while the adults talked, kind of deal. He had had plenty of time to hear their opinions about all kinds of things that go on in society, in culture. He already knew their political beliefs. He already knew their religious beliefs. He had already heard the homophobia and the racism and the bigotry. So it was kind of like he already knew pretty much the response he was going to get. So why, for 3 times a year? And it is different. Like when I was growing up, I saw my family all the time. Like every single weekend, we went to church together. We saw each other at church. We, like, every Saturday and Sunday, I spent at different grandparents' houses. Like we'd go over and hang out for the day, kind of thing. So I was always around family. So it's very different than my kids who they aren't close by. And so it was kind of like he could make that choice about whether or not to even expose himself to that. And knowing already their opinions was just kind of like, there's no reason to. Not at
and
all.
then there's this like idea of, well, like their feelings are, now I don't know about from yours, I know about from my own, that it's
Right.
like, well, my feelings are hurt that you don't want to be around that.
Right.
And I don't know how to help you with that. I don't know how to help you with, yeah, I think that kind of makes it a situation I don't want to be in. I love you. When I'm around you one on one, that might not come up. But when we're in those social settings and everybody's talking, and like I said, I mean, I'm just hearing these little conversations going on. One was they were giving away a company vest, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
The little logo. And one of our guys grabbed a woman's, which is just going to be cut a little more slim. We all know that women's
Right.
clothing tends to be cut, have a different cut to it. And he accidentally grabbed a woman's one and was putting it on. And it was just kind of funny because it didn't look right on him. And, it became, well, maybe it identifies as a man. And I'm like, people just don't, you don't understand. Once y'all get in groups, y'all get in crowds. And I get it. Whenever I'm around my leftist peeps and we're in a group, we're in a crowd, we feel comfortable having those conversations. We talk
Right.
about the things that are important to us. I get it. but then feelings got hurt over my TikTok that went viral. My
Right.
mother-in-law reached out to me finally and was like, hey, I want you to know that my feelings were hurt that you made that and didn't want to be around Republicans on Thanksgiving. And, what do you say to that? Well, my feelings are hurt. My feelings have been hurt for a long time. My feelings are hurt that you're fake to my face. My feelings are hurt that you vote against my children's rights. My feelings are hurt that you think it's nothing personal.
And
My
it's very
feelings,
personal for you,
it feels
for
pretty
your kid. It's very personal. For me and my kid, it's very personal. Like,
right.
granted, it might not touch them, but it certainly touches us.
Yeah.
And that some of the stuff that we covered my last two events, the last two nights have been about ripple effects, right? And if that is your belief system and these are the ripples that you get back, is that certain people don't want to be in your space anymore, that was the ripple you put out.
Right.
I don't want my ripples to be that.
And they come back with,
Um,
well, we would never say we don't want to be around you just because you're this. And I'm like, congratulations. I mean, you get
right,
to have but that's your choice to have those boundaries. And my choice is that right after the election in the same month, I did not want to be around anybody of that ilk. I did not want to be around it. Now, I'm a little, and it's just as bad right now for me for Christmas because January is right around the corner.
right,
And
right.
so it's, you know what? It's too much. It's not good for my peace. So, you
It's
know,
okay to say that we want to do something different this year, this holiday. But I think that's the same conversation that you have about your kid and where you go. Like whether it be a community event, whether it be a church event, whether it be a workspace event, because you've already been in those settings, those are kind of the considerations you should think about before you go into this setting with your kid. Is
right,
okay, how have these people spoken before? Are they supportive? Are they inclusive? Because if not, then it might be better not to go to those events to keep
right,
like safe. It's always about honestly the safety of your kid, and you don't want to put them in a position where you thought it was going to be a positive environment and it turns out really toxic for your child.
right. And
It's the
a lot of
holidays,
times we expect children to just go along with it. It could be grandma's last Christmas or, just go along with it and be nice and act a certain way. And, what are we teaching our children at that point?
right? Yeah, Cooper or Leslie. Yeah, no, that's it. Like that's the reason why I don't go around.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn into a mama bear around my family. I know what their belief structures are. I know how they feel.
Yeah.
If you really really were concerned, you would reach out and make sure that you knew the name that they go by now, so that when you send a birthday card, it's addressed to the correct person.
Right.
But out of sight, out of mind. And since that is the opinion that they have, that tells me that they don't put a lot of stock in that relationship, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. Just don't expect me to show up.
Right.
Don't expect them to show up. You've shown them no respect whatsoever. Why would they?
Don't
So
you
they
think
can
it's
feel uncomfortable?
almost kind of like victimy? Like, oh, you didn't want to come to my home? Or like, you didn't want to, what?
Cooper, yes. Offended that you don't want to be around to listen to my opinions.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's it. That's it. Whew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And hello, AP. Thank you for joining
Howdy,
us.
AP. Always
But yeah, I do think that's the challenge of it. Whether or not they feel included, whether or not they want to go, what do they want to do? And it depends on where your kid is in their journey
in
as
there.
well, right? And the family. Like you may have really supportive family members, and if you do, by all means, please go. If you have a supportive
Yeah.
church, go to those events. If you have supportive community events, if you're doing stuff within the LGBT community, especially, I feel like you would have a lot more safety. But
Yeah.
again, that's per your situation, and nobody knows your situation except for you and your kid best. That's the truth of it. So if
Yeah.
you feel like it's safe to take them into, do it by all means. But if you know that there's going to be a lot of challenge wrapped around it, maybe you choose what's best, and that is you create your own memories. Or, as Jenny and I have discovered over the years, what is chosen family? The people that do support you, the people that do affirm you, and that's who you choose to spend your Christmases with, and your whatever your or whatever the holiday is that you celebrate.
Yeah.
That those are the people that you surround yourself with, and the naysayers just
They gonna naysay.
right.
I
It
think too,
happens.
another, I kind of discovered this when my son came out, was to start asking my kid, hey, we've been invited here. That's it. It's so simple. We've been invited here. Here's what we know about these people. What are your thoughts? How are you going to feel about going? Do we need a code word that says I need to get out of here? Is
Right.
there something you can go do? If I know that my kid is just being agreeable, is going to go to this thing, maybe not ride their behind if they're on their phone, on their tablet, kind of checking out, like they're being physically in the space out of some kind of obligation or respect or love or whatever it is. Can I be giving of grace in that they may need to mentally or emotionally kind of check out. They may need to physically walk away from something. Um, and listening to our kids. If you're a supportive parent and your 12-year-old trans child is telling you, I don't want to go there, I don't want to be there, instead of just, well, what if we just make an appearance? Well, it's this person. Well, it's that. Listen, that's somebody telling you what does it mean if you bowl over that boundary or bowl over that feeling that they're having. You've
Right.
just said, I'm going to support you
Well,
until
you said
it makes me uncomfortable.
I'll support you when you hit ABC, when
Right,
you've met my conditions.
right.
That's what
Just
it is.
just
And
allowing.
we shouldn't create conditions around whether our kids go into that space or don't go into that space. Um, and I had another thought, and it kind of like checked out as soon as it checked in, so maybe it'll come back.
I'm the same way.
Whew. It's the events. It is. It's overload.
You
And
have
I
to
think
have
there's
kind of preparatory conversations around it too. Are there going to be people at the table who don't know that this kid is trans? Are there, or non-binary or gay or whatever it is? Does everybody know the name? Are we keeping that from some certain people? Maybe the kid has decided, I really don't want to deal with telling grandpa. I just don't. Okay. How
right,
are we going to navigate that? Are we going to use these pronouns or this name? But having those conversations beforehand and not being afraid to have them. Or if you have a child that I think is reluctant to go do something, is there anything I can do to make this a more comfortable experience for you to go? If the answer is no, the answer is no. But is there something that if you felt like la da da was in place that you might feel more comfortable about it? Absolutely. And the question is, what if there's a learning and growing wrapped up in taking a step outside of their comfort zone? Definitely. I think that, we're always encouraging our kids to do that, but I think that there are times when there are some hard no's. And I think that there's some times, like I said, if we're going to take that step and we go, hey, I'm encouraging you to step out of your comfort zone. We already know the whole world's not going to be the best thing ever. But we're not talking about the whole world, right? We're talking about family. We're talking about these special days that really should not be just ladled with discomfort. That said, hey, if we are going to take this step out of our comfort zone, do we have a code word? Do we have a signal that this
right,
might be time to maybe just run to the gas station together real quick and pretend like we forgot to get milk?
right.
You
Something that we
Something.
need a timeout. We need to have a timeout. What I was going to say is, because I remembered what it was. You were talking about reluctance. It's more than that. Like, say you have a younger kid who is questioning, who hasn't figured out where they land yet. If they start withdrawing, they're not talking, and it's more than a
Yeah.
reluctance to go. There is like a
That
sadness, like you got all this depression setting in. This is when you say, heck no, with the family events, we're doing our own damn thing.
Yeah.
Because you can already tell your kid is shutting down because they don't want to go into that
Yeah.
situation. And something that's already impacting their mental health and they haven't even walked into it yet. No, you're going to have
I,
a conversation about it. But the holidays, like Jenny said, you should feel like you're going home for the holidays.
yes.
And I
Yeah.
hate to say this, but I just realized this even myself because of the amount of events that my family did around Christmas, from Christmas Eve, 2 events on Christmas Eve night to Christmas, like when this is when I was a kid. We'd have Christmas Eve dinner, formal dinner, then go to my grandparents for like an after dinner. Then we'd have breakfast with my father's parents the next, like sometimes on Christmas morning. Then we'd go to one grandparent for lunch, the great grandparents that afternoon, back to a grandparent that evening for like the Christmas party. And then you finally got home,
Yeah.
Christmas night.
Exhausting.
But that, and thinking about going into that many situations, and there were
Right.
times where I was uncomfortable, right? And like my kids are already uncomfortable because they didn't have the same, I guess, like I said, we grew up where we saw our grandparents and our cousins and our aunts and our uncles all the
Yeah.
time because we lived in the same area. And my kids don't have that same relationship. So going into these family functions is like, wow, it's been a year since I've seen this person. And it was kind of weird the last time I saw them. And not to be weird about that, but when you're distant family, it is a
Yeah.
little hard to be that intimate. And so if you're already uncomfortable for that whole like 36 hour of events, I
Yeah.
can't imagine like I was trans and like wanted to go show up at grandparents. No, I just wouldn't go. That's
Right.
way too much exposure.
Right. And for what? For what? Is it for gifts? Is it for food? Is it just to say
Yes,
the
absolutely.
list?
We inquire into why it's hard. But Leslie, it's more important that these really aren't the conversations about what our kid needs to step outside of their comfort zone. I'll be honest, this question right here should be our family members getting outside of their damn comfort zone.
Amen. And I think
You
the
want to
why,
grow as a human being, accept people. This is their grandchild that we're talking about. And you can't
no,
figure out how to
literally,
get out of your head about it?
but we're always asking the recipients of this harm to be more accommodating. We're always asking gay kids, trans kids, different kids, neurodivergent kids. We're
Disabled
always
kids.
asking them to adapt to the world. And you know what the truth is, Leslie, you're on point though, because we do. They have to adapt to the world. You're going
They
to go
do.
out in the world and it is like this and you are not. And guess what? It's not going to adapt for you, and these are learning moments whenever they're children. But like I said, like for what? Can we just have the holidays be special? Remember that feeling when you were little and the holidays were magical and it was special? Can we just let you have that? Can we just let you have some peace? Who gives a shit about Great Uncle Bob? I mean, I haven't even seen Great Uncle Bob in a year. Uncle Bob didn't care about me. I'm not in his circle.
Right?
As far as the why, I love that you asked that though, because yeah,
Right.
we ask, but I don't ever ask why. I always say, can you tell me more about that? Can you talk to
Yeah.
me about that? Because
Yeah.
why
Like,
almost sounds like you're accusing them. Well, why? Why? I
exactly.
and so many people, shoot, sometimes I can't even really put into words why. I'm like, I don't know. I can't explain it. And then I try to explain it and somebody goes, "Oh, so you're just mad at them because they voted Republican." And I'm like, "No, it's not just that. It's like a triggering environment." "Oh, so it makes you want to drink." "No, it's not just that." Sometimes the answer is just I don't know. It's just I know it's not right for me and that's not what I want to do. So,
Right.
there is a balance there for sure, Leslie, for sure.
Well, I think it comes back to that question, like I said, especially if you're talking about a family function. It should feel like you're going home.
Yeah.
And that's what I was getting to before is
Yeah.
that I
Like,
realized that it wasn't that I was going home. It was I got to get dressed up and be on my P's and Q's
right,
and dot the I's and cross the T's
right,
to make sure that I'm on my best behavior and don't touch this and don't speak when not spoken to and blah blah. Don't interrupt and don't be a kid.
right.
And Christmas was about being a kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, we grew up around Christmas, and so that's why I'm using that as an example. But like that was where they had all their fun and opened up their stuff and they were supposed to be able to play with it. And I can remember as a kid, like we would get our stuff and if you were lucky, you might be able to take one thing with us. And we
Yeah.
were lucky if we even got to take it inside because if it made any kind of noise or any kind of mess, it wasn't going
Oh
in
no.
anywhere that we went. It
No.
had to sit in the car.
Yep. Yep.
But so you didn't get to enjoy anything you'd gotten that morning, and it was like you got up excited, opened your stuff, and then it was like, here, let's go to 15,000 other places
Yeah.
and put off your enjoyment, and you've been dying to get to this moment,
Yeah.
and so yeah, like I feel like why are we forcing our kids to be uncomfortable? And I for a long time, like I don't want to be ugly, but I was uncomfortable.
Yeah. And imagine it for like I think about trans boys, I don't think it's as prevalent today, but then again it probably is within like some families, especially like some religions where you had to like you wore your Sunday best. Like you wore your Christmas dress that mom went to Dillard's for, right? And your Christmas stockings and your little Mary Janes. Imagine a little boy having to put that on and wear it all day and be so uncomfortable,
My family.
or a little
My
trans
grandmother, my
girl having to
grandmother,
wear.
even when I was a kid, gave us a present every year that we got to open up before Christmas Eve so that and it was always a dress. She worked at a department store. And
Yeah.
so she got a big discount. And so Black Friday shopping, all my aunts and her would go out and do all their shopping, right? So we'd get to open up this one present because it was a formal dress to wear to the formal dinner that we were
Right.
having for Christmas
Right.
Eve. And that
Right.
would be the only thing that we got to open up early. And my kids, we did the same tradition. So they had the same formal outfits to wear down there. And my
Yeah.
trans son was doing this until probably 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And I really started to pick up on just how uncomfortable it was getting. And honestly, probably the pushback got to, I'm wearing pants whether you like it or not. And I
Yeah.
just went, okay, because I had three that I'm just trying to wrangle and get in a car so that we can get somewhere in 2 hours on time, plus all the food that I'm having to cook and get in the car to get where we got to go. So, no, like I picked my battles. I just picked my battles. And as he got older, I didn't push. And my sister, honestly, my sister was a tomboy. So my sister did not want to wear dresses either,
Right.
ever, ever. And so I can remember my mother like dragging her through the store and having to pick out the dress. And my sister just, I don't want to wear a
Right.
dress.
Right.
And
Right.
and those memories were also kind of coming back to me about that same time. Like, do I really? I remember her being very uncomfortable about that. Why would I want to make my kid feel that way? Home is supposed to where you feel safe. Home is where you're supposed to feel love. And if you're feeling like you're having to mask yourself and put yourself in a box and put all these labels on to be fit in, then the hell with the box.
It's just
That's not home.
it's so fake at that point. It's like, did I just come in here to act?
Absolutely, Leslie. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's it.
I said
That's
I
it
come.
exactly.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Retired from there. Lifetime discount.
what's the point of walking into this space where I'm supposed to be spending time with people and creating these memories and I'm just being fake? I'm just being false. And I think that I think that there's a lot that we can all do, not just as if we're the parents of trans kids, but what if, we end up with somebody at our celebration or at our event and we learn something or, get an inclination about something. What's appropriate to say and not to say?
Right.
I am kind of on the where I fall is I don't say nothing until somebody tells me. You
Right.
want to know something, you'll tell me if I have an inclination that I'm dealing with, and sometimes, let's be honest, it can be kind of visually obvious,
Right.
and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. It's like trying to say you don't see color. Yes, you do. Some things are
Right.
visually obvious. If I see something that seems a little visually obvious, I'm not going to say, hey, by the way, is your kid trans? I'm not going to say to the kid, hey, are you trans? What are your pronouns? I'm just
Yeah.
going, I'm probably really not going to say anything because it's not my business. It's not my place to say. It's not
Right.
mine to bring up. It's and knowing that, we've all been to those gatherings or those events with like that family member that just is nosy or they think somehow they need to know everything. I love my stepmother, but my stepmother thinks she needs to know everything about everyone. And I just fall more into the category of like, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to interact with them in this moment. And anything
Right.
else, if they want me to know, they're going to let me know.
Right. right. And I that's kind of there was a conversation being had about Christmas, the holiday coming up, because they're going to be gathering on what is it, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it
Today
is.
is Christmas Eve.
Okay, so Wednesday. So Wednesday. And because certain, like, one or two of them have, maybe two of them, I think, have got married in the last year. Another one got married like 2 years ago. And so a lot of them are going to be spending it with their other families. And I heard my mother and my grandmother having this conversation, overheard it. And they're kind of talking back and forth about, like, well, they're going to be choosing. And my mother was like, well, we went back and forth between your house and my dad's parents. And she was just talking about she hadn't really thought about that before because there were going to be so few people at our Christmas. And like, it won't be myself nor my three will be there. So again, that's four less there. And it's getting very small. And so I
Weird.
just wonder if that's going to eventually get her to be like, well, maybe if I accepted my grandson, great grandson, then maybe I'd have four more people back into my life. I don't know. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it makes people begin to question why aren't these people in my life? And sometimes you have to wait for that gap, for them to want to learn, to be curious, Leslie, to draw in,
Be
right?
curious. Yes.
It's about that curiosity, not that they need to antagonize you
Right.
and get into your business, but you've been absent long enough that it's like, well, why aren't they here? Did I do something? And maybe they're trying to check in with themselves. It's a
I don't
learning
think
moment,
that's happening on my on my in-law side. I think that I think that there are times you just have to realize that there's nothing anybody's going to say or do. They know how I feel about this. They know my son. They love my son. They've heard um my mother-in-law's response back was, "Well, the only trans people the only thing he said he's going to do is make sure there's no more transgender surgeries for illegal aliens in prison." And I was like, and once you get to a certain point, there's just nothing more to talk about. I'm not going to convince you otherwise. I'm not going to convince you of the humanity and the dignity of my child. I think that you just kind of see that as a very surface thing. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, he's going to outgrow this, or
right?
he's fine.
Right?
I don't know what you're upset about. We call him what you want us to call him. And so, like, what's the problem?
Right?
They don't know. And there's nothing I'm going to be able to do about it. And so that's where I think it gets weird. And here I am, just the parent of a trans person. I'm not even
Right?
a person. You come to this place where you go, now what? Now what? Do I
Yeah,
do I just who get is it about who gives in, or is it about just saying maybe this is something we're never going to meet on the middle with, and maybe we just don't hang out during this time.
I was gonna say, I think that's where that opens the door for us to create our own traditions and what we do,
Right.
like spending it with our chosen family, or just deciding not to go into those spaces where your child is going to face some kind of just discomfort. Even if it's nobody's going to say anything, it's kind of like everybody, because that would be even more uncomfortable to go into a space where they don't even acknowledge the child, because it's easier just to pretend like they don't exist than to have to deal with it, right? So then your kid really feels out of place the entire day. And that's kind of what we're trying to point out is why if your child is going to go through that, if you're going to feel ostracized in that way, don't do it.
Yeah.
It should be about celebrating, what draws us together. And if that's going to divide you, then don't go. As easy as that. I'm, yeah, no. Mm-mm. My mother got in a car accident this week and is trying to do her best to get down there on Tuesday or Wednesday if possible. And
Is she okay?
she will be. Um, nothing major, but her passenger is still in the hospital. And will be at least until Tuesday, and it sounded like today, possibly even longer. And the accident was last Tuesday. So it was not, she totaled her car. All airbags, and I'm
Oh,
lucky. They're lucky that they were in the car, a secure enough car that protected them in the way that it did. Or
wow.
I don't. Neither one of them would be here. Um, it was, yeah. I saw the car and just, whew, yeah.
Oh, man.
Not a so and she's very sore, very banged up. She does have an open wound on her leg that I'm doing like wound care on every day, but she's danged and determined to go down there, even if she has to like ride in the back seat with her leg propped up the whole way there. She doesn't care. Um,
Determined.
she
Maybe
is she
not
is.
someone from your bloodline.
Just a little bit. Just,
I
I
love
mean, I do. It's about half and half between the two parents. So, like, and definitely on her side, they're the type that my dad's type are just stubborn. It may take forever, but they're stubborn. My mother's are stubborn, and we get it done now.
it. Yeah.
Not tomorrow, not next week, now, right now. Hurry up and get it done now, and to perfection, but get it done.
Yeah.
Whereas my dad's was we procrastinate until we know we
Yeah.
have enough time to get it done to perfection,
Yeah.
right? We call my dad the procrastinating perfectionist.
Why it works.
Right? He did all of his stuff like he would take care of everybody else in the neighborhood or everybody else in the community and get all their stuff done and never get his own. He just, yeah, always self-sacrifice or just not wanting to deal with his own stuff. And I mean, I get that part too.
Am I altruistic or am I avoiding my own stuff?
Which one is it? It's a
Whatever,
seesaw some days.
doesn't matter. The end result is the same. I've been helpful to someone else and life is good.
There
Doesn't
you
matter.
go. There you go. And no, yeah, no. And that's kind of how, yeah. So, because you had sent me messages on TikTok, and I think I sent you one at like 5 a.m. and was like, I've kind of looked at these, and I've got a lot going on, and I'll try and get back into these this afternoon, and I never did
Oh,
because
good
it's
for you.
just been one thing after another
Yeah.
all week with what's going on with my mom and her friend that's
Yeah.
in the hospital, and
Well, you know me. I'm never gonna like I don't worry about it. Okay, cool.
right, right. I will say we've got one more step done on we got our gender marker on our ID changed this
That's
week,
exciting. That's exciting.
right? So we
All
got
our
one
core
more.
paperwork turned in. So we
You're
are
that
way
close.
for a while ago, but yeah, that is really freaking cool.
He's got to get his, like, waiting for this ID to get here. And then once there's a copy of that, then we can do the birth certificate. And then everything will be completely, like, the name changes are all done. It's just the marker now that
So that is that the order y'all went in? You had to start with the name change.
and then the marker.
You
And
had to
the marker had to be done because we had to have something from the psychologist. And he wanted to go ahead and get the name change in,
right,
get it done, right?
right,
Like, forget that. Let's at least get that done.
right,
So that if something came up in place of the gender marker, fine, we'll deal with
right.
that part later. And so then when he finally got that for some of the surgical consult stuff coming up, he turned that same, I guess not evidence, but that's what they needed pretty much for him to do the gender marker was a note from
So the
someone.
gender marker on the ID came before the gender marker on the birth certificate.
Hmm.
That's
He's got
wild.
to have a copy of that to change the birth certificate.
Huh. I don't know how it works here. I don't know how that's gonna go.
That's the order in which
Right.
he's kind of done it. And yeah, it's been a ping pong because geez, we started this like last October of 2023.
Holy smokes.
No, it was before that. It's before that because I think we had started turning in the paperwork maybe in October. Well, no, we may have turned in the paperwork in October. Like we've been working on stuff all of 2023 pretty much to get in like FBI and background checks and fingerprints and all this stuff just to get to the name change. And
Wow.
then by the time, and we found out like it actually got changed right before Christmas last year, but we didn't get notified of it till after the first of the year. And so the
Held.
name change was done right around Christmas time last year. But yeah, and now we're just getting to the markers.
I feel like at least with the name change has been pretty simple here. I was real interested in the paperwork though, because I looked over, comes now this person, at this
Right?
da da da. And so I was looking over kind of like, how is this even possible? Well, our governor said that the birth certificate in Oklahoma has to state either male or female. There
Right.
cannot be like a non-binary marker. There cannot be an X, anything like that. And so, of
Right.
course, the equality law is saying, hey, if that's the only requirement, cool, we're going to keep it within there. We just want to change it to this. Now, is it going to work? I don't know, because after January 19th, it's anybody's guess.
Right.
Um, you don't know. A name change is something that, anybody can do, honestly.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I was sitting here trying to think about mine, but
Yeah, I want to
I
change
don't
my
know.
I want to just go. I just want to be a Jenny. I don't want to be Jennifer. And I'd like to take my husband's last name, but I'm waiting until my daughter is 18 to take my husband's last name because I want to have full.
I want to drop mine. Like the last name, the Hollowell, whatever, what I use on our socials, that is my maiden. And
Oh,
I still have the other. I never completely legally changed it because I was in school, and it would made it difficult with my student loans and everything else. It was a lot easier just to keep my married name. And then it was like I'm going to keep it for the kids, and then and yeah, no, I just think I want to drop that name. I
yeah.
don't have an association to it, so why? And that's the reason why I
Well,
can't verify. That's why I can't verify my account there either. Is because on my license,
right.
I haven't legally dropped that name. So yeah.
I can't verify mine because they will only verify it via a text message code. And for some reason, I can't get them. It will not send the text message to my phone.
Oh
So I'm
no,
like, well,
I can do that part, but because even though mine, I've just have mine reversed because it's the maiden and then the what my legal last name is, right? So, but because I have them reversed and haven't parentheses on LinkedIn, they won't approve it. I'm just like, both names are there. Like it's still my name.
these
So
people.
yeah,
Are-
right, right.
What else? What else are you thinking about holidays and with kids? I was really trying to think to myself, like, in consideration of what other people are doing. What if you're going to have a young person or at any age? I mean, I don't want to just say young, any
Right,
age into your home. Do you prepare your guests first? For
right.
example, I know I'm going to have, you know, Susie Q is coming, a little trans girl, 15. And all of these people who are going to be there, maybe I've got some friends coming from other walks of life, or maybe I've got such and such happening. Do I prepare them for her arrival first?
I don't
Or,
necessarily say that we prepare for her arrival. I think you do prepare them that if you know that they may not necessarily be supportive, you let them know that there will be gender diverse people there, and that, and honestly, the type of person I am, I would be forthright enough to say, and this is my house, this is
right?
my party, these are my rules. If you can't be nice and respectful, don't show up
Yeah.
because they will be there, and I'm not going to exclude them for your comfort.
I know
That is exactly what I do.
that can be harder. The more like religious or the more, just kind of depending on your dynamic and your structure. For me, it wouldn't even be an issue. There's not ever anybody going to be at my house that doesn't know this is where I stand on this. Don't even play.
Right, right,
But
exactly.
the larger the family gathering, or maybe the more religious families, when you already know how people are going to perceive it, how to kind of lay that groundwork.
Right. Well, I mean, and you can like I think I actually had somebody who would just remind family members drop in their Christmas cards. I mean, they sent Christmas cards out or the seasonal cards that they sent out. They would remind them, hey, when we're coming for functions this year, just remember my kid is now going by this preferred name or by these preferred pronouns. Especially if you're talking about a kid who is younger, who is all you're doing is gender affirming, right? I mean, it's just the way that they dress, the way they present. And so it's just kind of the kind reminder of, hey, I don't want to be, I don't want to say this, but just put like a little asterisk in the side of the card. Just remember they go by this and this now, and these are their pronouns. And please let grandma and grandpa know, or like whoever you're sending it to. So if you're sending it to Aunt Jenny and Uncle Tom, let them know that all three of their children should be saying, calling them by this. Let everybody know. And if that's going to be a problem, so they can let you know. So you don't even put your kid in that mix. I would
I
much prefer you be forthright with me and tell me, hey, I got a problem with that.
right.
And I just not show up with my kid. Like I'm perfectly good. Peace out.
Just let me know if that's a problem for you. I'm not even here to say whether you're good or bad or otherwise for that. Just let me know.
If you're not comfortable, okay, fine. I don't want to make my kid uncomfortable
Right.
or myself uncomfortable because if my kid's not comfortable, I'm sure the heck not going to be comfortable. In fact,
Yeah.
I'm going to be more mama bear. Like Leslie said earlier, I'm going to be more mama bear. And that's just that's honestly, that's not the way to have a party.
Yeah. Right. Like who wants that?
No,
And
you do not. It's just tension. And
that
that's
what kind of became my point for Thanksgiving. I don't want some off the cuff thing to be said and I'm triggered. I hate that. I
and
hate
not going to hold back.
this.
It's my house. I'm going to just
Right. Like it's coming. I don't care whose house I'm at. It's coming out of my mouth. Like it's just who I am. I lack, and I'm working on it. I promise. But I lack that ability to go from here to here and go. Wait a second. Hold. Like let's let it
breaks.
divert. It doesn't happen. It's like bloop.
I'm
Especially.
pretty good. I'm pretty good. But if I get to a certain point, then you can insert the scene from Chevy Chase's Christmas Vacation where he starts going off about his boss when he's standing
Yeah.
in the living room. And that becomes me, and I'm going to eat through anybody who gets in my
Yeah.
way.
Well, and mine is obviously it's about certain things. It's just these topics, especially when it was said about the like, well, maybe the vest identifies as male. Like I just immediately first my face betrays me because I'm like,
Right,
what?
right, right. Face is bad for me.
Why
Faces.
is that even? Why would you even
I'm
say
glad I don't play poker because I would
right?
lose.
I'd lose it. I do not have a poker face. But there's just those moments of like trying not to pop off. So I'm like, maybe you don't even want me there. Maybe you shouldn't be heard about it. Just like let me do my thing.
But even if it's a decade, let me take my chill pill.
Yeah.
You enjoy it when I show back up again. Like heart, we absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?
It's
Like
4 years minimum. We'll see what else happens.
I'm already at 4, so
Oh God. I don't know, girl. I don't know. And then I think to myself, I have this guilt. I have this terrible, terrible guilt for not just sucking it up and going. And I have to ask myself, like, was I doing that to punish or was I doing that to protect? And the truth is, if I'm honest with myself, I don't always know. But that's why I think in the end, it was the right decision not to. Because if I'm swirling around up here about that, then that setting, then that situation isn't going to serve anybody. It's not going to
right.
turn great. I know myself well enough. But, then what? How long am I going to keep doing that? Is that going to be the same next year?
Well, I
I
think that becomes the question of do you choose chosen family?
yeah,
Like, is that the question that it becomes? Is it, I'm uncomfortable because these people don't accept me and they expect me to show up and be like this. And that's why it makes it uncomfortable. And then if I come over here with these people, well, we have a grand time. Well, there's your answer. Go be
there's
with the people that accept you.
yeah,
The problem is that you're upset with the fact that you're having to fight to change who you are to fit into their molds.
right.
And honestly, I think that's probably my mother went down there and was like, Amber's the happiest she's ever been is because I refuse to be in a mold. And I don't know what my family member they don't know what to do with that
I think
at
it's
all.
a lot of people are going to be navigating this for the first time this Christmas. Maybe
Yep.
they have to deal with it at Thanksgiving. Christmas really is its own entity. Again, I say Christmas just like Amber did because it is the prevalent, the most
And that's,
market.
I mean, that's a holiday I've
Right.
always grown up and celebrated, and my children too.
But it
So,
obviously applies to any holiday. And I think there are a lot, there are
right,
going to be a lot of people navigating that for the first time this year. And especially a lot of young people who were a certain age the first time
right.
this happened and now are older, maybe have come out since then. And it's going to be the first time that they're going to be experiencing all of this. And to that, I just say, hang in there. A lot of people are going through it with you. You know, your advice on finding a chosen family, but I just think about people in these smaller areas and these more, these more small towns and rural areas
Rural. And it's very hard to do that.
where you don't have an equality center, you don't have a local LGBTQ group. Maybe all you have are people online. And as great as that is, and I have some incredible, Amber and I are online buddies,
Right, right,
but it's not the same as sitting down, breaking bread. It's not the
right.
same
It's
as
not.
when that's what you're used to and when that's what you want. And I would just say, keep going. Next year may be better.
Right.
You're going to find your feet. You're going to find that place, and you're going to get stronger each and every time, and it's going to be okay. It does break my heart. It just breaks my heart for him because it's hard. I mean, I feel really weird, and I have my children who I love. I have wonderful parents who I love. I have all that, but having to take that step and decide not to do that this year really was hard. It left me feeling I am dealing with a tremendous amount of guilt, and like I'm a bad person because I didn't do that. And what do you mean you can't just swallow that and go forth and be and act a certain way? Like it's
But it
normal.
had, I guess my question is when I start feeling that way, what does that serve?
I don't.
If I
Yeah,
sell, if I self-sacrifice, what does that serve?
I don't know.
Who does that serve?
I
It
don't know.
doesn't serve me. And in this situation, it wouldn't serve your kid. So why would you self-sacrifice?
I don't know.
Don't, you and I
I
need to have some
the,
private talks about
the
shame and guilt
guilt.
here.
I would say
Yeah, I
the
hear it.
guilt is normal, and you can get past it, and maybe get a friend to help you get past it. But I would
Yes,
say,
because you do. I mean, I get it. I felt like I think the first time I said I wasn't going home, like COVID was really convenient for that because it was COVID, right? It was really easy, like, oh, okay, don't have to deal with that this year. Um, but because my son was on testosterone, like that was going to become obviously a seeable difference. And so by the time things started to relax and you could start gathering again, that question became like, okay, now how do we
right,
navigate this?
how
And
do we,
and the real question was really I left it up to him. He was an adult, and again, he knew he had heard for years what their belief systems were. I
yeah.
knew what their belief systems were, and if my kid wasn't going to feel comfortable, why was I going to go? And I think I went for like a Thanksgiving before the pandemic. No, no, no. I went for a Christmas right before the pandemic. And that was because honestly, my grandfather had passed in November, right before Thanksgiving, and we didn't gather from that for Thanksgiving just because it had been so soon and my grandmother was going through a lot. And so I went down there for Christmas. But I haven't, COVID came and I've been back since. It just, it is what it is.
Well,
They
hello,
made
Susan.
their stance
That's
clear, like, wow, yeah, Ontario. Hey, Susan.
very, very cool.
Probably
Can I,
very cold too.
would you like smuggle me into your country? I heard there are some really far right Canadians who want to come here, and I am interested in a citizenship exchange. Is that possible? I don't have a background. I can pass a background check. I don't have any felonies. Educated.
Oh,
I still have probably 25 years of work I could put in. So, like,
right?
if you hear of any, Susan, what I'm saying is come out. Let me know. I am ready for this.
Wow, right, right. No, uh,
Yeah, I heard about that. And I was like, wait, they want to come here? Okay.
right, right. Like,
I'll,
y'all can come here. We'll go there. That.
I'll there. Let me take your spot. Y'all got that universal health care? That's some good stuff.
Oh,
Oh,
jeepers. Well, we won't even.
okay. So let's end with something like super light and fun. What is have did you are you doing Christmas gifts this year? Like, are you buying Christmas gifts for people? No? I
I
was
bake. I
You're a big
bake. I bake or I art. Like I do
oh, you're
typically. Like
art.
typically, and actually, so this year I did art for myself. Because I was like, I sent you the stuff that I've been
Yeah,
doing, and I finally have the paints to do like the last panel of that cabinet. But I have for my son, my oldest is actually hand painting because we're all missing our dogs. He's hand painting all of our ornaments, like so that we have like the dog face profiles of each one, and so he's even doing one for his dad who knew our first two mainly, and so he's making his dad two ornaments in his colors. So and like he did like a color code for all of us, and so he's been working on those for like the last 2 weeks or so. So we've all had our own things, but I baked too. So like
what
yesterday, I told
you
AP I had done in 2 days. I did 8 dozen fruitcake cookies, 15 dozen ginger snaps, and like 3.5 pounds of peanut butter fudge.
holy smoke. You must have that down to such a routine.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. You just start
Or like
balling and rolling, like rolling the sugar. Because like that's the thing with the ginger snaps too. Like there's red, green, and then there's a set that are red and green. So
yeah.
it's like every pan was like one pan of red, one pan of green, one pan of mixed, one pan of red, one pan of green, one pan. So yeah, and my kids would come in to eat like half a dozen or a dozen. I'd be like, this is why I make. People ask me why I make so many cookies. This is why we have to get to Christmas.
Yeah.
And I send them as gifts. So
Yeah.
if I don't like make a lot, they'll kill like the first night they had eaten so many of the ginger snaps. I'm like, I'm supposed to be sending those out. So like the next day, yeah. So yesterday I made two more batches of ginger snaps just so that they would like die. And I
Get
had the event last night at 8 o'clock, and AP was texting me. I'm like, I'll meet you in studio at like 7:45, and then I came back. I was like 7:50. I've got to wait for this last sheet of cookies to get out of the oven because like I was doing cookies right up until the event, and then jumped into the event. So yeah, I've been
that's
baking my
great.
butt
So
off.
I am in Oklahoma. That's the horrible place right above Texas. It's Texas Junior. And Amber, do you want to tell her where you're from, or
I'm
where'd
in
you?
North Carolina, so yeah, we're cousins.
I know.
The politics are cousins here, so like we're all part of the South.
It, girl. I am very excited. I always make a Christmas crack. So that's the one where you take the crackers and you just lay them down, and then you pour like a basically you've made a toffee out of butter and brown sugar. You pour it over there, you throw it in the oven, and then you put some chocolate chips. You kind of smear the melted chocolate around. And then my secret, I'm gonna tell y'all my secret because I'm not one of those people who's like, no, I have a secret recipe and nobody can ever know. That's ridiculous.
I
That makes
give my I give my recipes out. I'm like, here's a screenshot
of
here.
course. Like, go forth and enjoy this. What am I making money off of it? Is it patent? So my secret, there are these, and listen, I want you to know that I hate Walmart, okay? But they have these Best Choice brand cinnamon sugar almonds. And you can only find them through the Best Choice brand at Walmart. I have tried to find these suckers like the Blue Diamond brand, if that's even the correct. Yeah, the Blue Diamond almonds.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they exist. They only exist with the Best Choice Walmart brand almonds, and they are. And so I take that when my Christmas cracks like kind of cooling and the chocolate's kind of cooling. I take those almonds, I pound the crap out of them so they're nice and like chunked up and chopped up, and then
And put them all over.
I give them a, you got to give them a little smash with the either parchment paper or wax
Right,
paper, because you got to get
right.
them chocolate. Otherwise, if they cool, they're not really stuck to the chocolate and they just fall off.
See,
But
ours are kind of that sounds really similar to me to the seven, what is it, like the 7 layer magic bar.
oh god, I
They're
make
called magic bars with like
yeah,
the coconut cream, and they are, yeah,
so good. I,
ridiculous. Like I told a friend of mine, I was like I want to send you gifts for Christmas, and like I don't really have a lot of money, so I was like, so but I bake, and
yeah.
they're diabetic, and I started like listing off all this stuff that I'd made the last 2 days, and they were like, well, I'd be in a coma for like a month, and I'd be like, yeah, so that's why I'm not sending you any.
uh,
Sorry, I'm not going to be responsible for that. So yeah, yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah.
So
What
you're
can I say?
maybe that's where you level up with your baking is to start learning some diabetic friendly recipes.
Possibly.
I'm
Possibly.
could be more inclusive with your baking.
Look now, we're in the South, and I don't skimp on my butter or my brown sugar or my molasses or my spices. Like we don't skimp. Or the yeah, no, no,
Are
we
you
don't skimp.
are you a sweet tea drinker?
Oh yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I hate sweet
In
tea.
fact, my kids, we have this one like chicken and barbecue place that's like a chain here called
Yeah,
Smithfield's, and they have a really sweet tea. And
yeah,
so every time we go get tea, my kids are just like, "No, that is for you." And like they'll take one sip and be like, "Oh, this is hummingbird food," and I'm like,
yeah,
"Ooh," because they know
yeah,
that I'm gonna like it, and they aren't. Like my
yeah,
kid would drink like pour off the top and add water and
yeah.
stir it to like water it down.
I remember going because I have family in North Carolina, and I used to go visit them, and I'd be like a teenager, and we'd go places, and they'd be like, "You want a sweet tea?" And I'm like, "What do you? No, can I just have like a tea?" And they're like, "No, we don't have that." Like they
Yeah,
literally
no, they don't. We don't. Like we would go up north for
they
Christmas, right? When my ex, his company would work up north in New York, and we'd go up there. We'd be at a restaurant like locally, and I'd say something like, "I wanted a tea with dinner," and he's like, "Remember, it's not sweet tea." And I'm like, "Oh, I want a Coca-Cola or like whatever, just something else." But it was like, I don't want just plain tea.
Oh, I love just
No, I'm from
but
the
yeah,
South. I want my tea and I want my lemon. Honestly, I want my slice of lemon in it too. Like we are, yeah, we're about our tea. I'm definitely a tea. I'm a tea and coffee drinker. I want my tea cold unless
oh,
I'm sick, and then I want my coffee hot. And I
same.
don't care.
Same.
And I don't care if it's 99 degrees outside. I still want my
I
coffee
love
hot.
coffee is hot. Now I am a big fan of like the cold foam cold brew. I've learned how to do it myself. But even then, that's almost like that's not really a coffee. That's like maybe a midday drink or something you just
Yep.
have
I was
out.
gonna say I had an iced coffee that I would get like in the afternoons, but it
Right.
was kind of like a buffer to my morning coffee
Yeah. But
that I already had.
coffee is coffee. It was a cup of hot coffee, period.
Three, two to
Yeah.
three.
Right. 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 Well, I'm so glad we got to meet again this week.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
you know, I love y'all. Merry, merry, happy, happy.
right, right. Whatever your holiday celebrations are, we hope
Yeah.
they're festive and they're fun and they're safe and they're inclusive, um, and you navigate them safely. Like, why you don't just? I think a lot of people don't have the mental bandwidth this season
Yeah.
with the cycle that we just went through.
Yeah.
And if this year you decide for your own mental space, for your kids' own mental space, that y'all do your own thing, and don't feel shame, don't feel blame, and don't feel guilt for putting yourselves first.
And don't make a TikTok about it unless you want to catch hell for it. Just throwing that.
See, this is why I like try to refrain from the TikTok.
No.
Like, if I'm heated about something, I give it time because if not, there would be a lot of TikToks out there that'd be like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I
Nope.
need to go back and take that off."
Nope. You know what? I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Okay. I love y'all. Oh, sorry.
I love you too.
You guys
Right.
know who Jenni is. All right. See y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.